Good morning, and welcome to the roundtable on what is a premium destination, challenges and opportunities. Thank you very much, Chris, for your introduction on how the neo-luxury consumer is behaving these days. Travel restrictions, fear of long trips, and close attractions made incredibly difficult to travel amidst the pandemic. In fact, luxury travel has dropped 54% in revenue in 2020. However, so it seems that it's going to recover 26% in 2021, up to $3.8 trillion US dollars. And we will go back so to the figures of 2019 by 2023. So how will this growth happen? So this is one of the questions that we raised in this roundtable conversation. Also along the lines of Chris' conversations, we see that the luxury traveler has changed their mindset in terms of how they want to consume a travel destination. It's not about the destination only, but the whole experience, whether this is wellness or a culinary experience or an opportunity to unwind from the pandemic, or an opportunity so to get together with relatives that you haven't seen in a while. It's not only about having fun, but also about being philanthropism. It's the opportunity to use tourism for backing up so small businesses. And it's also about sustainability. So we have questions, and perhaps some of the ones that you may have in mind is that, are premium destinations, the traditional ones that we know, ready so to capture the value of the new needs of this new luxury traveler? Are we going to experience a new landscape of premium destinations? Is there room for new players? Is this going to be a game only for the private industry, or are we going to see the public administration playing a new role? Will the geopolitical context affect and be a challenge or an opportunity in rebuilding the luxury tourism and premium destinations? So these are some of the questions that I'm going to have the pleasure to discuss in this roundtable conversation with the distinguished guests that we have today. Let me introduce you to Ms. First Tracy Lanza, that his group head of global brand development for the Red Sea Development Company. And Tracy's focus on defining, developing, and dynamically delivering brand vision across all marketing, media initiatives, and communications. Prior to this responsibility, she was Senior Vice President and Integrated Marketing for the brand USA, the public-private partnership responsible for the United States' first international tourism marketing effort. And she's also a board member for Expedia Group Media Solutions. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
So we also have connected because we have Expo in Dubai, and it's been impossible for Issam to join us so physically here. So Issam Kazim is the CEO of Dubai Corporation for Tourism and Commerce Marketing, which he built from scratch in 2013, up to 200 people and 40 international offices. And he's the driving force behind a comprehensive branding, promotion, and marketing agenda that has established Dubai as the fourth most visited city these days. We also had in our conversation, if you saw the agenda, so Miguel Sanchez, the CEO of Turespaña, that unfortunately, so he had a personal issue and could not be with us, but we are very lucky because we have today with us Magí Castelltort, who is the Chief of Staff at Turespaña. And welcome everyone for this presentation. So we are going to do a quite straightforward panel conversation. We are going to be raising some topics for 20 minutes, and then we will leave some room for the floor to raise additional questions. So my first question to the panel is, what is a premium destination in your view today? Tracy, would you like to start?
Sure. I think a premium destination has changed slightly, and I think Chris did a great job of setting some of the goals of the neo-luxury traveler. And at the end of the day, what they're looking for is experience. And I think even more so post-COVID, what people are looking for is a connection. People are looking for humanity, for an opportunity to get away from their daily lives, but they're also looking for that heightened experience, whether it's cultural, whether it's again making connections, but also with that, I think certainly for the premium traveler, for that high-end accommodation.
Magí, what's your view, from Turespaña, on how do you view what is a premium destination today?
Well, premium destination obviously is Madrid, is Barcelona, is Marbella, Sevilla, Malaga. We have a lot of premium destinations, and the unique aspect of Spanish destinations is that we combine a middle-class society experience with a luxury experience. So this continuum is what makes the experience unique. This is what we think is the main aspect of a luxury or a premium destination. As Chris said before, also my colleague said, is about customer experience and customer value. And we think that the great aspect of these destinations is that they can focus on the needs or expectations of their customers. So it's always related to wealth, obviously, if you can afford or cannot afford certain services, of course, but you have to think that since we are a global destination, one of the most visited destinations in the world, we have a lot of different customers. And maybe a luxury experience for a person of a certain country can mean something different or can be only a middle-class experience for a person from another destination. And the great thing about Spain is that we can adapt to these different tastes. So luxury is something that has to do with the particular customer. You have to know your customer and adapt to the kind of service that is slightly upper or higher than other co-workers or citizens or families or relatives from him can be different.
Okay, thank you so much. Issam, so can you hear us well? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So from your perspective of the world, so what would be a premium destination today?
Sure. First of all, Yolanda, always a pleasure to see you, and I hope Miguel is doing okay. My regards to my colleague Tracy and Magí as well. I want to echo what my colleagues just said, and also add that for us, when I look at what we consider a premium destination, ease of connectivity and access becomes one, and the way we also look at making sure that the safety of the destination, again, putting people at ease and peace of mind of being able to come to a place and not think about anything else, and then of course is the enriching experiences that a destination can offer. Because the way that I see it, the premium traveler today isn't about the budget aspect of things, because I've seen a lot who budget is not a concern, so they want a destination that fulfills everything else for them, but also other travelers who, even though budget is of no concern, that doesn't necessarily dictate the budget that they travel with. So for them, having a destination that really is fulfilling in every aspect of their want, their need, and also the traveling partner, their family, their friends that they travel with, something that a destination can offer all of those things across the board for every single one, that becomes the definition in this day and age of a premium traveler looking for a premium experience within a premium destination.
Excellent. Along the lines of the previous sessions and with the experience so that you have in the different roles that you represent, which changes you've seen in the luxury traveler in terms of their consumption habits, if any, or which areas would you highlight? So, Tracy.
Well, for the Red Sea Development Company in the Giga project, the Giga projects that we are managing and building, obviously our focus is on not just sustainability, but on regenerative tourism. And what we mean by that is responsible care of the land that we are developing, which means for us taking care of the flora and the fauna, of the land mass that we are developing specifically for the Red Sea project, which is 28,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of Belgium. We will only be developing about 25% of that. And why we think that's important, not only as good global citizens, but we believe that travelers of all stripes, but especially luxury travelers, want to be conscientious of the planet. And I want to refer back to Chris and some of the facts that he shared, which are quite true. People want to feel good about the way they're spending their travel dollars. And there's been a number of different studies done over the last year that people want, who are spending their travel dollars, want to feel good about inclusivity. They want to feel that they are contributing to the local community. And they especially want to feel as though they are not damaging the planet. So that is really a big focus of the project that I'm managing.
Excellent, thank you. Issam, in your view, what changes are you experiencing or you are seeing in the luxury traveler consumer habit?
I think when you look at it from luxury travel nowadays, the definition is I would say, has changed dramatically. The way that we used to look at targeting those customers with the luxury products and making sure that it's a segment that's focusing on a specific niche, that has changed. You will still have a market that's focused on that, that's fine. But the growing segment going forward has been the experiential side. So it's very important for them to understand the depth of what the destination has to offer. So if you look at Dubai, for example, we always talk about that we are a proud city that is home to close to 200 different nationalities that have chosen Dubai to be home. And they make up about 80% of the resident population. And these people have been in Dubai with the native culture for about 30, 40 years. And they have influenced greatly the different experiences and the unique fabric of the community that exists in Dubai. So the more we can create opportunities that highlight that multicultural aspect of the city, whether it's through gastronomy, through the different experiences that they can have within the cultural parts of the city. I'm talking about the heritage sites as well as the newer parts of town where you have the region moving to Dubai and really creating it as the hub for them to showcase their art and their culture. I think there's a lot of that that's happening in Dubai that is so unique than anywhere else in the world. Then that's creating those premium experiences and those experiences that the luxury travelers are seeking that is very different than anywhere else in the world, and highlighting those to the traveler, to the potential tourist that you're trying to attract becomes extremely important.
Okay. Let's move on now to a new question about the challenges and the opportunities that you are observing in premium destinations. So Magí, in your view, what challenges today premium destinations have so to be on track?
Well, first, the first challenge is recovery, of course. And what we are seeing is that particularly the premium consumer is the most affected by, at least mentally, most affected with health security. So the wealthier person is the more affected or the less prone is to travel. So that's the main problem we are seeing. So that's why we are focusing mainly. We have a communication campaign called Travel Safe, particularly trying to focus and to convey this message that all destinations are safe and that trying to encourage people to travel. So this is in the short term. And the long-term challenge has everything to do with the environment, obviously. So this is the huge challenge because there's a key word for premium travelers, which is the legacy. So if you're a wealthy person, you want to leave a legacy so that everybody reminds you that you have done something good for the community. And in the particular case of tourism, they want to travel according to environmentally safe and environmentally respectful. And so this is the main challenge, and we are working also on these aspects.
And Tracy, how you are preparing your project so to accommodate this?
Sure. Well, I guess I should say to the audience, I've only been in my job for 4 weeks, so I'm still trying to learn how to answer these questions. But I would say the ambition of the Red Sea Project and Amaala, another project that we're working on, really is to change the face of tourism and expectations amongst travelers as to the respect for the environment, respect for the planet. And I think that that is a great goal. I worked in the United States for tourism for 10 years prior to this job. And that really is the question that a lot of my stakeholders, the cities and states that I worked with, were looking for advice about, is what steps can we take to really improve the environment, understanding that travel has some unique challenges. Air flight it can be considered an issue. There are other things. There's a lot of waste in packaging, clean water, all kinds of things. So the Saudi Vision 2030, which embraces a lot of the UN's goals for social development, really are at the heart of what we're trying to achieve. And when I say it's ambitious, not only is it ambitious from a building and a development perspective, but I think it's also ambitious from a world perspective. So, we will be sharing our learnings with the world as we go.
Excellent. Issam, so what challenges do you see at this moment for premium destinations along the lines?
I think my colleagues have mentioned the sustainability aspect of it, and of course this is something that's on top of our agenda, and we are making marked efforts in progressing in that direction. We're still a young city, a young destination. UAE will be celebrating its 50th anniversary towards the end of this year, December 2nd. So what we have achieved, becoming the 4th most visited city, international visited city in the world, with 16.17 million tourists coming through the doors in 2019, and also starting January, February of 2020 with 4.2% growth compared to the year before. So we were well ahead of the UNWTO average in terms of growth. Shows you that yes, tourism is a significant factor of what we're focusing on, but we also understand that during the pandemic, there were a lot of things where a lot of key decision makers, business people, who realized that there was this opening and closing of several destinations that had really impacted their businesses, the livelihoods of the people that they employ. So there was a new challenge that was in front of us. So we in Dubai, working with the federal government, made sure that we had put certain steps in place to put our hands up and say that, look, we've been making big claims. We want to be the #1 destination. That's our goal. That's our ultimate aim. But at the same time, this was our opportunity to say, like, you know what? Let us start taking certain steps, certain measures where maybe others can learn from us. Why should we always wait? Let us take those steps. And we managed to not just open up quicker than anybody else, but to stay open. But also, all of these efforts that we made encouraged a lot of people to shift their focus to Dubai in another way. So we had a lot of people working virtually from Dubai due to the new programs that we launched to accommodate people who found themselves stuck because the borders being closed. We also made sure that we opened up opportunities for people to relocate businesses here because of the easy policy that we have in attracting talent from the wider region and globally into Dubai. So there's a lot of things that we did to address different sorts of challenges. Again, using the entrepreneurial spirit, I would say the agility of being a young destination to our advantage, and really focusing those challenges and making it an opportunity for us.
Fantastic. As an example, so I think that probably the audience may think that an important challenge that we are having is making transportation seamlessly. So how can think, for example, in challenges like transportation, and I think, so perhaps Issam, in Dubai, you have some initiatives that you've done, so to make the transport experience quite seamless, so for travelers.
Yes, of course. I think if you look at, again, what we've been working on for Expo. So we did a lot of things in terms of infrastructure build to make sure that the connectivity aspect of things between opening up to other markets, understanding that some markets are finding it more difficult to overcome the challenges that the pandemic had set forward. So we work very closely, not just on a local government level, but also making sure from a G2G aspect that there's a lot of lessons learned that we can hand over to our partners within the industry as well, and let them realize and understand exactly all of the measures that we've taken in place, so that we can start opening up the channels and the doors. But again, leading up towards the expo, we knew that there was a need for the infrastructure to also support everything that's happening, whether it's the metro system extensions that we're doing on that side, to make it easier for people to be able to access the site without worrying about taking the car or being in the need of other sorts of modes of transportation. So again, the fact that it's more like a green field for us as a city, it really works to our advantage to be able to address all of these things well in advance, as opposed to tackle legacy issues that exist.
Good. And how do you see technology and in the premium destination game? So is this a challenge, an opportunity, or both? Magí, you are nodding. So what's your take?
Obviously, is a great challenge. When I was director in Tokyo, for instance, we developed also a huge database project. For instance, any Japanese consumer buying a Spanish guide, we knew exactly wealth, where they live, how many pets they had, if they had cars, everything. So it enabled us to do cross-selling a lot. So this is just an example, obviously. But once you can tailor and segment the kind of consumer you want to attract to your destination. So it's a huge challenge, because from the taxpayer point of view, you are providing a lot of value with a low cost. And this is exactly what we want. So we are using technology in order to provide better services, better experiences to our customers at a lower price to the taxpayer.
Okay, so in the end, it has an opportunity side.
Yeah, it's a great opportunities, yeah. Okay,
that's good. Tracy, in your view?
One of the things that we're looking at is a variety of different clean mobility initiatives, and whether that's working with the airlines to develop biofuels for microalgae, development of electric vehicles that transport you from the airport to the hotel, or whether or not we are looking at a smart destination approach, which means that from a traveler perspective, it is really a seamless operation to visit the different pieces of our project, which we're very interested in supporting. Although I do think during this, I guess we can't say it's post-COVID because we're still kind of interim COVID, I think there is a balance that has to be struck between technology and human connection. What I would never want to see is that we are, we over tech ourselves, so that people feel as though they aren't getting that, that personal touch.
But some initiatives the main players in the sector are using. For example, it's the Internet of the Things in the hotel rooms, or so the app where you can already tell, so the type of temperature that you want to have in your room, or so the type of food that you want to have in the fridge of your room. So I think that there are things that along the lines with the experience, so that this could be helpful. One more question that it's coming to my mind, if now providing an experience is so important, how are you selling the experience, to customers that they've never lived, so they're coming to the Red Sea, coming to Spain, coming to Dubai? Selling up front, selling experience, Magí?
Yeah, well, of course, we have a huge advantage, which is that we have also a great offer in Spain. So we have good companies, and together with particular partnerships, we can develop these kind of products. We have been pioneers in Spain, developing also the premium segment was 15 years ago in Spain, in Turespaña. Also, we had the cosmopolitan segment. So we also have had this kind of segment in mind, and we have developed a lot of experiences together with the Spanish destinations. So we've been working with this particular kind of people and experiences for 15 years. So yes, of course, we are ready because we already have, we are not alone in these projects. We have a lot of people working with us in every destination in Spain.
Okay. And Tracy, so from your perspective?
Yeah, so I think experience is what it's all about. And really what my focus is on is how to begin talking about the Red Sea, the western coast of the Red Sea, as a destination, not just a responsible or regenerative tourism project. So for instance, because Saudi has primarily had religious tourism, which is quite rich and ongoing, we need to talk about why people would like to visit Saudi from a cultural perspective. And I think what the stories that haven't been told they're numerous, but for instance, the coast is an ancient trade route, and there's so much history there to talk about. The Red Sea was Jacques Cousteau's favorite place to dive. There are thriving corals, and I think it's really important that we get very specific about these stories to deliver a very authentic and cultural experience. I think the UNWTO in a past report suggested that 40% of travelers are looking for a cultural experience that is different than their own. And so that's the story, I think, that is important to tell, whether you're Saudi Arabia, whether you're Spain, whether the USA, whether you're Japan, is how are you different than the place that your guest, your customer is coming from.
How much, thank you very much, how much the geopolitical context can affect today the premium destinations, and what can we do to protect ourselves against this?
The only protection is diversification of your source markets. This is what we are doing. So in Spain, we have been very lucky because since we are the second most visited country in the world, we had a huge variety of visitors. So when one certain country is having a problem, we can always compensate with another one. So we can redeploy our resources, our marketing resources, and try to communicate with different customers from different countries. This is a huge advantage. So diversification is the best, in this case, in best protection. Unfortunately, with the COVID, we are facing a global challenge, but we were very lucky because at least in Europe, so European markets were very good for us. And since Europe is one of the main outbound markets for us, so we were safe, so we can manage, so to speak, better than other countries this kind of crisis. But obviously, we are more than eager to welcome our Gulf state friends and people from the United States, from Japan, China, and so on. So diversification is the only solution, at least from our point of view.
Okay. Tracy, could you add anything else?
Sure. Obviously, headline news grabs everybody's attention with the important place that social media plays in the travel space. But what we always say, what I truly believe, is that travel transcends politics. And that's why it's so important to be able to tell the story of your destination, to live in people's imaginations and in their brains in an inspirational, aspirational way. But also because travel is such a great source for economic growth. And I think that at the heart of it, the fact that we support jobs, everyone in this industry should feel good that what we sell are jobs, and we create this world where people are able to achieve, learn skills, move on. And it's more than just the obvious, front desk clerks and hotel folks and airline folks. It's restaurants, it's theater, it's deep into the culture. And so that's why I think it's really important to get your travel story straight, because it's more than just a trip, it's an economic driver.
Okay, thank you. This is really good because this opens, another area about opportunities, is that economic development. What other opportunities premium destinations can see today? Magí.
The main opportunity, as I said, is the new habits or the new environmental concern that all customers will have after the pandemic. I think we need to use, the tourism industry should be the main vector to transform a society. Is this the best way to do it? And because, in the industry sector or agricultural sector is also important, but in tourism, as Tracy has said, you have to deal with people. So it's the best way to transform. In Spain, we had the experience before because, democracy has a lot to do with tourism. So maybe this new transformation about, embracing a new, more environmental friendly customer, new environmental friendly society. So we think that tourism should be at the heart of this global society strategy.
Thank you so much. My last question before we leave the opportunity to the audience to raise some questions to you. So one critical stakeholder in the luxury tourism and in premium destinations is the relationship between public administration, the private sector. From your perspective, so what are the challenges that you are facing in dealing with public administration? How are you aligning the strategies? Anything that you could share with us that could help anyone in the audience represented today?
Okay.
Well,
ladies first.
So I have had quite a lot of experience in public-private companies, and I think it is a very good way to bring about transformation when you can set a vision on a public basis and then encourage and enable the private piece to then make it happen. We are doing this in Saudi with an amazing educational program that is geared towards bringing young people into the hospitality space, specifically women, to enable some diversity. But I also think there's always the balance between the government and what private folks want to do. I haven't yet experienced this at Saudi. They are very hand in glove, as I would say. But in my prior role, there was sometimes not banging of heads, but the government would very often want you to kind of follow a certain path that as a private entity you wanted to deviate from. And I think making sure that you can work together to support your joint goals is always really critical so that you can work together from a funding and a visionary perspective.
Okay, thank you so much. Magí, would you like to contribute?
Well, our conception is quite clear and everybody understands that. So we, as a public sector, we provide public goods and the private sector should provide the private goods. So this is very obvious, but sometimes we have to remind that because people get confused. So we create Spanish brand, Spanish awareness, and this, so we create market opportunities so that private firms can later also benefit from that. So this is a huge symbiosis that we are working together with the private sector for many years. Although we are in a structure, we are a public entity, but we work very close with private firms because we have a clear concept of how do we have to develop or create market opportunities for our companies.
Okay, thank you very much to both. Now we are going to leave the room, so for some questions from the audience. Any question you'd like to raise to our panelists? Don't feel shy, it's your opportunity. Okay, I have one question. So while you think, if not, don't feel the pressure, so that because the panelists are going to be around the whole day. And is there an opportunity for second cities? Sometimes, in each country, so we consider premium destinations are the capital and one or two main cities. Is there a room now, so for second cities?
Absolutely. I mean, this idea of proximity, whether it's an hour away or 5 hours away, is actually really wonderful in two ways because it enhances the trip for the person. They get more out of that one trip. But for the bigger cities, it can sometimes help solve some overcrowding issues, over-touristing issues, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And for the smaller destinations, that link with the larger destination can also bring tourism and awareness that was not there before. In the USA, we had a strategy called Proximity that really looked at destinations within a 5-hour circumference. And we worked really quite hard to make sure that people knew all the things they could do around 5 hours from their gateway or their main place of tourism.
Well, the huge advantage of Spain is that what for other people is a secondary city, for us is the main city, is the main destination. For instance, Salou, it's a small town, but it's a huge tourist destination. Marbella is not a capital city, but it's a huge destination. So the advantage of Spain is that we have small cities that have developed themselves, become a very strong brand in the tourism sector. So this is the first advantage. The second advantage that we have in Spain is also that we have a huge historical and cultural legacy that is scattered throughout our geography. So for us, it's very easy to promote these different second cities, so to speak. And we have developed also in our new strategy approach, we are focusing in this particular target. So we have the sea line or the coast regions from one side, the rural areas or the interior Spain, so to speak. And that's why we are focusing in these second regions or areas or cities trying to develop and taking advantage of this new trend. Because just to give an example, Zaragoza, which is not considered for many people as a huge tourist destination, it has a lot of visitors from China. So the main visitors of Zaragoza are Chinese people, French and Chinese. So just to give you an example of how we can develop and how we are together with local authorities, how we are developing this kind of not correctly called second cities, at least from the point of view of a tourist. We live in a very federalistic structure from the touristic point of view.
Okay, thank you very much to both. I think that we are running out of time. We hope, that the conversation help you to spark some ideas and, that any initiatives that you can launch in the cities that you live. I think just as a conclusion, I think that we clearly see that a premium destination needs to bring experience, access, connection, and safety, that we need to be able to provide an environment that can make travelers feel good about spending the travel dollars. Diversification, so it's critical, and tell the story of your destination to attract definitely those new customers and travelers that they are eager to go back, to live new experiences. Thank you so much. And I hope that you have a very interesting conference these days. Thank you very much. An applause.